Welcome into your news at 10. Shocking and simply terrifying news out of former President Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania tonight, where law enforcement officials say that a shooting there is being investigated as an assassination attempt on Trump. The shooter is dead and an attendee was killed. 2 other attendees are critically injured. Alice Barr reports on what we know so far.
Former President Donald Trump had just started speaking at a rally in Butler County, Pennsylvania, when his speech was interrupted by loud pops. The former president appeared to reach for his ear before dropping to the platform behind the podium where he was speaking. Secret Service agents rushed the stage and surrounded Mr. Trump. After a moment, they raised him to his feet. Blood could be seen on the former president's ear running down his cheek toward his mouth. At least a dozen loud pops could be heard during the incident. Before being hustled off stage, the former president raised his fist and pumped it at the crowd. He appeared to say "fight" several times before being moved to a waiting SUV. Trump spokesman Stephen Chung saying President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. The White House says President Biden has been briefed on the incident. The Secret Service has taken over the rally site, calling it a crime scene.
And tonight at 10:11, we are joined by political analyst Joel Sawyer. Joel, thank you so much. Obviously, a really difficult evening. The first question is, of course, we're continuing to get information. It appears every couple of minutes. There's an update from the campaign that said Trump is doing fine and he looks forward to being at the RNC this week in Milwaukee. That's going to move forward as scheduled. But just the first question to you is, how have you been processing all of this?
It's this is something that has not happened in recent memory. I was talking with my wife earlier. We were talking about I think 6, 8 years old when Reagan was shot, and he was in the hospital for 12 days, and obviously he was president at the time rather than being a former president. What is scary to me is just this entire idea of political violence, because even though this is the highest profile instance of political violence recently, you don't have to look back very far. Talking about Steve Scalise, congressman at the softball game, Gabby Giffords in 2011. There is a lot of very overheated rhetoric in politics that I think has gotten to the point where I think that violence, unfortunately, is inevitable in some cases.
Right. Now, we also know that Secret Service neutralized the shooter in this case. We already have some Congress men and women coming out and saying that there needs to be a full look at the security protocols for these campaign events. Because obviously when you get to a situation like this, you have security issues that impact the nation. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime something like this happens, there's got to be a top to bottom review of security. I think there's always a tension. When I worked in Governor Sanford's office years ago, there's always a bit of tension between what a candidate or a political figure wants to do in terms of interacting with people and being out among people versus what security wants to do. If the Secret Service had it their way, he would be in a protective plastic bubble all the time, right? And so there's always going to be that tension between the two. There's a lot of speculation on social media already about the fact that this shot came. It appears to have come from just outside the perimeter that the Secret Service
had set up a secure perimeter, and it would appear, at least at this point, that individual was outside of that and was still able to get sight of the former president.
Right, with a long range rifle of some sort, and so that begs the question: do these security perimeters need to be further out? I'm sure that's something that the Secret Service is going to review.
Right. So you mentioned this idea of the difficulty of the situation that we're in, and really leaders from both parties have called out political violence this this evening. Within about an hour of this happening, President Biden came out from Delaware and gave a brief statement condemning this, saying that, of course, Donald Trump should have been able to have this rally as planned. We have a portion of Biden's remarks. See if we could play that for you right now.
Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
That was President Biden just there. Very brief remarks. He also said that he was hoping to speak with Trump at some point this evening. Unclear if that conversation has taken place. We want to put this conversation to the side for a moment and head over to Eric Zernick for a look at your forecast here in the Midlands. Eric.